Alrighty, we should be live right about now. Thank you for joining me, everyone that's here at the moment. We'll take it easy to start the stream off, just give people a couple of minutes to join in, hopefully get a few more people in here. But hello to everyone that's in here. Hopefully my microphone's working. I have had a couple of streams in the past where it's not working, and I've also got a brand new microphone, so I'm hoping this is all working. If anyone can hear me in the chat, please let me know so I can find out if I'm talking to myself. Be nice to see some hellos, please. Please. Okay, well, your mic is working. Thank you, Anselm Stroud. Thank you very much. That's exactly what I needed. Hopefully it's clear enough. If it's not clear, I can adjust it, because like I say, it is a new microphone, so hopefully we're all good. I don't know, there seems to be a slight delay perhaps on my stream for some reason, but hopefully the connection is okay. Hopefully it's all good quality and everything. You can hear me okay. But like I say, if you haven't got any audio problems, let me know. I can make some adjustments on the mic. I can turn it down. I can move it closer or further away from my mouth. Just to, let's just get that out there. If there's any issues, let me know and I can adjust it. So but we'll go with this for the time being. So like I say, welcome everyone to the stream that's here so far. Good to see some familiar names in there, and good to see some new names as well. I'm sorry, my chat is at an awkward angle. My screen to my right is kind of a bit too far right, and I don't know. I think I need to adjust this probably, but Michael, hello. Hey, I'm not sure if I'm happy or not with them. Yeah, that's kind of where I feel. But what I'm intending to do in this stream is, you can hopefully see my current placeholding team on screen at the moment. This is actually like the very first draft I made. When the game came out, like 5 minutes after the game came out, I was like, oh, this team looks good. And it's kind of stuck like that. But I have got a couple of other teams that I'm considering. So what I want to do in this stream, I will get onto some team selection kind of drafts in a bit. But I want to first of all kind of discuss the whole launch of F1 Fantasy, just give my thoughts on that if people are interested. And then I'm going to go through all the rules, price changes and everything. And I understand that a lot of you, if not all of you, have kind of already looked through all the rules and everything already. But I just want to go through it with you anyway, and we can have a kind of open discussion in the chat. And I'll give my thoughts and opinions on it, and hopefully that's interesting for you guys. So, and how, try and think about how it might impact on our actual team selection, because time is of the essence. So yeah, we're gonna go through the rules and everything, and any changes that have occurred. And then we're gonna have a look at the whole pricing thing. I've been delving deep into the F1 Fantasy Tools Discord server and having a look at that, and I've got a spreadsheet from JW, I think it is, from F1 Fantasy Tools. So have a look at that and think about how the pricing algorithm has changed, because I really didn't expect them to change the pricing algorithm, but maybe they realized that as a community we caught onto it and they're like, all right, let's throw them a curveball. So we've got some, well, we'll get onto the pricing a bit later and I'll discuss my thoughts on that. Like I say, I think I kind of understand it, I'm not like I'm not an expert spreadsheet person, as you'll see of my free copy of Microsoft Excel in a minute. I'm normally using Google Sheets, but yeah, we'll have a look at the pricing, think about how that might impact things, including like our budgetary gains and whether we want to score points early on or try and gain budget, how we gain budget. I'll think about that in a bit. And then I'll kind of finish off the stream with some team selection thoughts and just answering your questions on that. And just, if you've got any questions, feel free to put them in the chat as we go through. This is going to be quite a relaxed, kind of chilled stream. I'm normally in my videos like talking super fast, but I'm going to try my best to kind of slow it down and just go through it at quite a relaxed pace. So I'll just pop it over to what is new. So we're going to start here, and I'll just have a quick look at the chat to see if anything interesting is going on over there, apart from some hellos. Crystal clear. Message retracted. God knows what that said. Hopefully nothing bad. They didn't listen about the harsh DNF penalty from Big Brother. Yep. We'll get to that, and we'll get to my thoughts and feelings. I think you can probably already guess my thoughts and feelings on the DNF penalty. I've been a bit vocal about that in the past, but I guess to start off with, the actual launch of F1 Fantasy 2025. Let's just get this elephant in the room visible for everyone, if that's the right way to word it. My thoughts on the whole launch of F1 2025 has been it is poor. I'll be completely honest, I think it's been done poorly. I understand that there may have been some issues behind the scenes that we're not exactly privy to, but come on guys, you've had months. The last season finished at the end of November. It's all of December, January, February had testing. It's now into March, and the first race is this coming weekend. And the first tidbit of information we really get is on the Monday ahead of the race weekend. I think it's poor from F1. I don't want to be like critical for critical's sake, but it's just my opinion. I think it's poor, and I think a lot of us have been frustrated with that. And I really wish and hope that they improve that in the future. It does give the impression that it's a bit unprofessional, particularly as well with the whole pricing leaks that I'm going to get into a bit later on in the stream. It just, yeah, the whole thing, the fact that they put like some testing stuff out on the website late last night. They basically revealed all the rules and the price change algorithm to an extent, if that's to be believed, late last night, before 12 hours before the actual game launched, and that's also pretty unprofessional. They should have like a dummy server for that, surely. And then also the grammatical errors, which we'll get into as well. Oh, God, it's been a bit messy. It's come out late. It's been frustrating. Let's move past that now. We've got the game in our hands, and we need to focus on what's actually going to be good for our team. So again, I'm just going to quickly check the chat, see if there's any feedback on that. Did they listen to anything really? Greetings from Toronto, from Bold. I can't even read creative. Hello, my Canadian friend. Did they listen to anything really, says Michael? Disqualification is such a rare occurrence. Yeah, well, let's get into exactly that, and whether they did listen. When we say did they listen, I'm sure most of you are probably aware that we did do a big community survey. I think we had over 600 responses, which were fed back to F1 developers, which they were apparently grateful. This is the word from F1. They were grateful for our feedback, blah, blah, and but has it actually been listened to? Very, very limited, I would say. So anyway, let's have a quick look. Let's get onto scoring changes and scoring updates and changes. So they say we've changed the scoring for fastest pit stops, which we'll get onto. That's kind of relatively interesting, and disqualification penalties. That's a good thing. I'm going to get onto the disqualification penalties. I think that's a good thing, but why they couldn't include DNFs here, I don't know. I wish the developers would give us some justification on that, but they're not going to. Inactive drivers, again, this is just a nice bit of clarity, and this is what we have been asking for, and this is what we did mention in the end of season survey. Can we please have some clarity on something like inactive drivers? So the fact that they've actually quite clearly given us details on that, I'm actually really pleased about. Thank you for that. The price updates, again, I will get onto this and test my spreadsheet knowledge later on. Recalculations, price recalculations and updates are now based on driver and constructor performance over the previous 3 Grand Prix. So like I said, I will get into a bit more depth of the whole pricing later on as to what the community we're thinking at the moment as to how that might impact budgetary gains and losses. And then look and feel of it. Great, they've made some changes to bits and pieces, but let's move over to the actual game rules. So let's see, have they changed this grammar yet? Have they changed the sentence? If your driver competes in the sprint but is replaced before... have they actually changed the grammar on this? Thank God. Right. So I don't know, earlier on in the day when this first came out, the grammar on here was absolutely atrocious. I think they've actually changed it. If your driver competes in the sprint but is replaced before Grand Prix qualifying, you'll get a transfer suggestion. What does that even mean? Suggestion? Like, we suggest you change to someone else. Like, what is that? That's vague to me. So you can avoid non-classified penalties. This suggestion still comes out of your transfer limit. What do they mean, suggestion? What does that mean? Are they going to give us a tip? I think you should get Behrman. I think that's a good suggestion. Like, what is that vocabulary? Don't know. At least, thank God they've changed the grammar on this, because it read like some broken AI bot had written it when I looked at it earlier today, but it looks like it's changed at least. A warning. Michael thinks they mean warning. Maybe that's what they mean. Big Brother. Yep. Big Brother, I promise I will get onto the price changes more thoroughly later on, but I just want to go through like the general rules and stuff to start with, and just kind of go through a kind of relaxed pace. But yeah, they mean warning apparently. Yeah, and that would make more sense, but come on, English. So pit stops, what's new? Pit stops, every team will now get points for pit stops during the Grand Prix, but not sprints. The number of points each team get would be based on the fastest pit stop during a race. A 5-point bonus will go to the constructor. So yeah, again, we'll look into that a bit more detail as we scroll down. And then the DQ penalties, which I think is a good thing. Disqualified drivers will not gain any points. Fine, but at least they don't get hammered. As a George Russell owner in Spa last season, having him in my team, like, he won the race, fantastic, to, he's been disqualified. He's now, instead of getting 40-something points, he's on like minus 20-something points. It's horrific. Like, still going from 40 to 0 is going to be like rough, or it wouldn't be 40 to 0 because it'd still get the qualifying points. It'd probably be like 40 down to like 10 points or something. But not getting hit by the DQ points as well is great. However, as Michael pointed out, this is quite a rare occurrence. Like, how many DQs did we have last season? Like 3, 4, maybe 5, and even that was like quite a lot for a season. Like, normally we don't get that many disqualifications. So nevertheless, I do think this is a very positive change, and I'm pleased about it. I just wish they had carried this over into the DNF side of things, but we'll get to that in a second. So let's just catch up. Where I've got Clive in here. Why did they release Class C tier prices last night when it seems that there is only A tier and B tier? Blah, blah, blah. How do you mean? How do you mean? Why did they release Class C tier prices? Oh, do you mean as in the price reveals? Well, I don't know if that's if you're thinking in the terms of how I labeled them. I labeled them as C tier drivers. That's because that was before we knew about this potential A tier, B tier setup. So I don't know if that's what you mean. You're referring to me calling them C tier assets because last year they were C tiers. Yeah, I think that might be what you're meaning. So I don't think there are actual C tiers in terms of the price change algorithm. There may be sub tiers within the A and B tiers for how the price is changed, but again, we'll get onto that in a bit. So let's carry on moving on. Just again, giving my kind of thoughts and opinions. This bit here is mostly copy and paste for qualifying. It's kind of what you expect. Disqualification has been reduced again, so it was minus 15, I believe, last season. It's now minus 5. Again, a positive. I don't like massive whopping disqualification, like negative points. It's just, it's almost impossible, if not actually impossible, to predict that you're going to get a disqualification. So why penalise us managers so heavily? So the fact that they've reduced that is fantastic. I'm really pleased about that. The rest of it, fine, to keep it the same, fine. And then the constructors are also scoring the same way as they were last season, as far as I remember. This is exactly the same from what I remember. Sprint scoring is also the same here. Why is fastest lap still in here? I mean, I don't mind fastest lap. When I first saw this and I saw 5 points of fastest lap, I was thinking, oh great, they've reduced the fastest lap from 10 points to 5, but then I realized this is only in the sprint, still 10 points in the race. So yeah, it's kind of annoying, especially when the fastest lap in the actual race in real life doesn't count for anything this season. They've removed that 1 point bonus, so teams aren't going to be going for the fastest lap. It's just going to be like a random who's got the tire offset or who's got the performance at the end of the race. It's going to be like one of the big constructors like your McLarens or Ferraris that just happen to be low on fuel and just happen to get a random points, whatever. So I guess that kind of points us towards getting the most premium kind of A tier assets we can in that regard. But I just don't see the point in having fastest lap kind of in here, at least not so heavily weighted in terms of the point scoring. When for example in the sprint, you score 5 points, that's equivalent of coming fourth place. I just think it's too much weight on a random fastest lap where no one's really going to be going for it. It's just not really, I don't know, it's a bit meh. They could have reduced it or scrapped it, in my opinion, and replaced it with something else perhaps. But so yeah, and another thing here, we got the disqualification again has been removed down from 25 to 20, which is a minor improvement, and then DNF still at minus 20. Oh, why? Honestly, why for the sprint? Okay, I'm not going to be angry and frustrated this whole stream, I promise. But just why, developers? If there's a developer out there that can come out and openly justify why you are getting penalised minus 20 points for a random DNF in a short little sprint race that's normally like 15 to 20 laps. Why, if someone gets unlucky and spins off, gets punted out, completely not their fault, why are we as managers getting penalised 20 points when the winner of the race only gets 8? It's so unbalanced. I just don't get it. I need a minute. I'm going to look at the chat to see if I've missed anything for a minute. They will never even mention fastest lap during the broadcast. This is true. Keith, welcome to the party. 5 points for getting lucky. Yeah. I think Ferrari Mercedes is the best bet. Yeah, I promise I will get into team selection shortly. But I just want to go for the rules first. This DNF minus 20 rule is what made me lose the top 100 finish last season, and it's not changed at all. Yeah, unlucky Jetto. That is a bummer indeed. That's why I'm sat here just feeling a bit frustrated about the whole thing. Why? Minus 20. Developers, if you're out there, please come out and tell us why it's minus 20. Anyway, let's move on. The actual race, again, hasn't really much has changed here. I've already touched on the fastest lap. Not really sure why it's such a bulky 10 points. And driver of the day still there. Like another thing that we put in the survey, a large chunk of managers, expressed their displeasure at driver of the day existing in fantasy. It's not really something. It's not a performance-related thing to a large extent. It's more a popularity contest, especially we saw last season a lot with I always called him Fernando Norris. Where is that going? Fernando. I guess Fernando kind of rhymes. Lando Norris got a lot of driver of the days last season because he is popular. I don't like this. I don't mind it, but 10 points is just too much. I make it like 3 points or something. I wish they'd changed that, but they haven't. So there we go. The race result points again haven't changed here. It's just kind of normal. Again, the -20 for a DNF. Again, I wish they'd reduced it. I don't know how many more times I can say it, so I'll stop saying it. Just there it is. And then disqualification again has been moved from -25 last season to -20. So yeah, again, a small move in the right direction. At least it hasn't got any worse. So we'll take those small victories. And then we've also got the constructors' pit stop times. And this is quite a big change from what happened last season. So last season was only the top 3 fastest pit stops. So were given, like, what was it, 50? Oh my god, I can't remember. No, it was 10, 5, 3. Oh my god, it was literally only last year. 10, 5, 3, I think. I can't remember. For the 3 fastest pit stops. And now it's changed that every constructor will be awarded points according to how fast they are. So it's not just the top 3 get points. It's basically all the constructors going to get some points. So this is quite useful for the lower sort of B tier or C tier, if you want to call them that, the cheaper constructor assets. This is quite good for them, I think, because it gives people like I don't know, Alpine, Williams, or whatever, who are on the fringes of people's thinking at the moment, some more credibility. As particularly like Alpine had a couple of races last season. Towards the end of last season, I remember the Alpine pit crew actually doing reasonably well. So perhaps they can pick up an extra, 5 points, maybe even a 10-pointer. That's quite big for someone that's costing 9 or 10 million as a constructor. So I think this definitely favours the smaller constructors to an extent. However, we did see the likes of Red Bull performing as the best pit stop crew across the last season. And you also get this 5-point bonus. So the fastest pit stop is not only going to get like 10 or 20 points, but they're also going to get a 5-point bonus for just being the quickest. So it's like, they're already getting rewarded, and then they're getting rewarded for getting rewarded, basically. So yeah. So that makes people like Red Bull, Ferrari, McLaren, who are already attractive, like more attractive, because they are generally the best pit crews that are around at the moment. Although these do sort of fluctuate, we do get some fluctuation across the seasons. And then you also get this 15-point bonus. Again, why are they focusing so much on these random things which are very unlikely to have any impact on the game? And again, it's kind of random and unpredictable. Why are they making these changes to the game and not adjusting this glaringly obvious things like -20 points for a DNF, particularly in a sprint race? Like, why? Like, you're getting. Just gonna say this one more time: first place in sprint, 8 points. DNF -20. First place in the race, 25 points. It's over 3 times this score, and yet the DNF penalty is the same. Why is it so unbalanced? But yeah, anyway, so overall the pit stop times has changed quite a bit. Do I like it? Yeah, I think it's fine. I think it was perhaps an unnecessary change, but I don't know. I kind of like it because it does kind of make the lower scoring constructors at least potentially chalk up a few more points. But I say that, but then the higher constructors are just also going to be scoring the same points, so it's just going to kind of not really matter. It's like, oh, my Alpine constructor scored 2 points. Excellent. That's great. It's like, okay, but my McLaren scored 10. So, fine. Or even if McLaren didn't have a great day in the pits and they only get 2 points as well, it just cancels out the Alpine's like advantage there. So yes, the lower scoring constructors are scoring more points, but then just so is everyone. So what's the point? Don't know. And then finally, team management has not changed, -10 for a transfer. I think this is fine. This could come into impact when we're trying to scramble around, trying to avoid the budgetary losses from our drivers as this new free race average that we're coming about. Let me just check the chat, and then we'll have a quick look at chips. I don't think anything's really changed in the chips, has it? Where even is it? It's in here somewhere, isn't it? Yeah, I don't think much has changed here. I'm not going to read through all these chips because we all kind of know what they do, but if anyone knows of anything particularly important that's changed from here last season. I don't think anything has really changed. So yeah, please just let me know if there's anything I'm omitting here, but I'm not going to go through it because I don't think people want to sit here and listen to me go through the chips. I think it's pretty much the same. So I'll just check the stream, and then I guess we'll have a look at pricing and some team selection stuff. And yeah, again, if anyone's got any questions in the meantime, feel free to ask. So let's have a look in the chat. Oh, I've missed quite a few things here. So does negative points apply to drivers or only constructors? Negative points from Bryce Gibson. So do negative points apply? Yeah, so both. In general, just yes, both. Constructors will get negative points if the driver scores negative points, if that's what you're asking. It depends exactly what you're asking. Need a bit more detail. Sorry, Michael. I promise it'll be the last time I say it, but the developers seem just lazy. Ugh. I mean, yeah. I don't like being critical. I don't know. I don't like just being this negative beacon. But yeah, I agree with you. I agree. It does seem a bit lazy. Yeah, I don't know. Or maybe not lazy, but maybe they just really are just a small team of like literally 1 or 2 developers. That's what it feels like sometimes. So yeah, I don't know. It's a bit frustrating, isn't it, Michael? Clive says pit stop points seem critical this year. Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, I guess for the teams that are going to be really quick, and consistently getting these sort of 10 pointers and occasionally maybe dipping into a 20 pointer, that is pretty massive. That is pretty massive for your constructor bonus. But in general, I'd imagine most teams to be scoring more this region, like 2 points, 5 points or something. It's not very often we see people go sort of much lower than this. Like Red Bull got quite a few, like 2.1 second stops. McLaren are kind of been there or thereabouts. So I definitely think that gives them some more credence in terms of picking them. But yeah, let's have another look whilst we got. Pit stop points swing me to a dual strong constructor. Yeah. Pizza Bob man, value growth from Mercedes, Ferrari, Piastri will be big. Wish I could squeeze in Gasly. Yeah, that's kind of what my team selection is at the moment. If we hop it back, oh, that's not what I want to do. Pick my team. Oh, why is it all? Oh, it's logged me out for some reason. I don't know why it's logged me out, but let's. That's annoying. Let's move this over. Let's minimize all this stuff. You can have a look at my background for a minute. Let me sign back in just so I don't want to get my password and stuff on screen. Wait, why is this just like deleted my team? Is it? Oh, there we go. There we go. We're back. Let's bring this back up. Okay, I don't know what happened there. Maybe just because I've been on the website for a while and it's just timed me out or something. Don't know. But we're back. So yeah, this is my team at the moment. I think this will be quite a popular build to start things off. But before I get too much into the team selection decision stuff, I do want to talk about pricing. So I will get onto pricing in just a second. I'm just going to finish off looking at the chat for a minute. Will the fastest lap in the TV broadcast even be shown in the graphics if it's no longer an additional point? Probably not. Anselm, probably not. It probably won't really get mentioned very often. Michael, I hope the Mercedes pit crew play fancy this year. Might tighten up the performance. Yeah, yeah. I think Mercedes are like okay. I feel like they've made some improvements. Last year, I feel like they had a few good pit stops, but in general, they seem to be floating around the sort of 2.5 and above. So yeah, probably only picking up a couple of points, maybe 5 points on average. So, but we'll see if they've made improvements. Like I say, they've had a few months off to nail their performance. Mr. Fee says, hey Tom, the pit stop points are interesting. Red Bull would have scored 70 points less with the new scoring system, only 5 points ahead of McLaren, rather than the difference of 78. Oh, okay. That is very interesting. I haven't actually done the maths myself, so I'm not sure exactly how accurate that is. I mean, I believe you, but I would like to do some looking into that, but I'm not going to look into it now because you probably don't want to all see me scratch my head doing maths for 5 minutes. So, but thank you for the information. That's interesting to look into, Mr. Fee. Yeah, as Michael says, that's interesting. Last year's scores: Red Bull 165, McLaren 87. And then using this score, Red Bull 99, McLaren 94. So McLaren, even though over the season were a bit weaker, would have scored more points, or at least Red Bull would have been running away with it quite so much. That's Very interesting. You've done a lot of homework there to work that out. Interesting. Right, let's have a look. One more thing in the chat, then we'll look at the pricing. Oh, Williams and Alpine overhyped, like VCarb was the beginning of last year. They're going to get finished likely around 9 or 12. That's actually what's that actually worth points wise? Yeah, that's kind of my thinking as well, which is why I'm a little bit reticent to kind of jump on the Williams Alpine train. The truth is we don't really know how strong Williams and Alpine are. Where are they priced? 9.5 and 13.1. By the way, look at this Williams artwork. They've got the Flovis on here. Like, could they not get a clean picture of the Williams car? Shocking. Look at that pink Flovis. Kind of funny. Yeah, I'm not convinced at all by the Williams Alpine. There is a build which I'm looking at, which is potentially an Alpine kind of build. Hoping that they can get a few pit stop points and stuff, which we'll get onto. But yeah, I'm not entirely convinced about it. So let's move on to the point scoring. And I will say that I've only just been looking at this within the last hour before coming on the stream, because I've been working all day. I've got kids, etc., and I've not had a lot of time today to properly look at it. So I've been looking at it. I've got a rough idea of what's going on. So I will caveat that I don't know exactly. I haven't worked this out myself. I am using stuff from F1 Fantasy Tools, Discord, etc. But we'll have a look at what the guys have kind of worked out and thought about. I've got a few screenshots first of all I want to share, just to kind of indicate. Let's bring Bearman over as to how. Actually, should I do that, or should I get the spreadsheet up first? Let's get the spreadsheet up. Okay, can everyone see that? Hopefully everyone can see the spreadsheet. It looks like you. Yeah, it looks like you can. Looks like it's all good. Right, so this is the spreadsheet which is shared on the F1 Fantasy Tools Discord by JW. I hope I'm getting that name right, JW. I'm pretty sure it is anyway. But yeah, if you're not already on the F1 Fantasy Tools Discord, then I'd advise you to join it, because people do good stuff in there, like this spreadsheet, which has come about in the last 24 hours. Look how detailed this is. So basically, I'm going to try and explain roughly what this means for us in terms of price changes. So the price changes have changed this season. Now, this is, again, I will caveat this. This is not concrete. This is not for definite. This is not an exact science. This is based off some information that was kind of accidentally shared by the developers last night. Like I say, last night around 11 o'clock UK time, I was fiddling around on the F1 Fantasy website, and I came across the rules, which when I looked through, I was like, oh, there's changes. I saw the pit stop changes and stuff. I was thinking, well, the game hasn't launched. Why are the rules out? And it was up there for a while, like, I don't know, half hour or something. I had to look through all the rules, and I was like thinking, like, is this actually, well, what is going on here? But whilst I was looking at the rules, scratching my head, other people were looking at like team changes, price changes and stuff. It turns out that the developers had done some sort of testing which had somehow been shared with the public for a short period of time, and someone quick on the F1 Fantasy Tools Discord basically took some screenshots of all the different price changes, and now it's being collated by JW, this guy, JW, wherever you are, thank you for doing this. And it's been worked on by the guys at F1 Fantasy Tools. Hopefully we can get a bit more of a grip on this before the end of the week, so we get a bit more of an idea. But yeah, basically this whole weird leak thing from the developers came out for a short period of time. We got the screenshots, and then we've been, as a community, kind of working. I say we, I've just been trying to understand what other people have been doing, and I'm hopefully trying to relay as much of that to you. So let's have a look at the bottom line of what we found so far is that what we already know. Sorry, this is not the best explanation so far. If we go to what's new, we already know what we know. All they've actually told us publicly right now, what they mean to tell us is this: price recalculations and updates are now based on driver and constructor performance over the previous 3 Grand Prix. That's all they actually told us, but they accidentally shared some random information with us last night, and people are quick on the internet, which is why we've ended up with this spreadsheet within 24 hours or less than 24 hours. So based off that, we know that we got a 3-race average. So what this means for the 3-race average is, for the first race, the 3-race average is just Australia. For the second race in China, the 3-race average will be Australia plus China, and so on and so forth. And then that 3-race average will move along through the season, and that will affect the price changes. What we've, again, I'm saying we. I'm saying we as in like the community. I'm not saying we as if I've actually contributed to this. I'm just trying to understand it. But yeah, what we've kind of extrapolated from this is that the implied performance will impact the prices gained and lost. And what we come across here, if we can see this box here, which I'm kind of shaking my cursor around here, the implied performance, which says great, good, poor, terrible, and it gives you the price changes according to A category and B category. So what we've got last year, we had A, B, and C category, and we had an asymmetrical price change where we had people jumping up $1 million and dropping like 0.2. So it increased budget quite exponentially, because you're getting big gains and you're making small losses. For example, Verstappen, or I suppose the A tier are kind of a bad example of this, because the A tier had a rare occurrence of doing badly. They dropped 0.7 last year and they'd only gained 0.1 or 0.2. So again, it was this kind of imbalance of going up and down. But in general, like the C tiers were great for building budget last year, because they would go up 0.5 or up $1 million or $1.5 million, whatever it was, and only drop 0.1, 0.2. This year, the way things have worked according to this leak and what the community currently think is going on is that we're getting this kind of symmetrical pricing. So people are going, drivers in the A tier who are priced 20 million and above are going, if they have a deemed great performance according to the average across the free race average, then they go up 0.3. So your A tier assets, your likes of Norris, your Hamilton, your Verstappen, Russell, etc. Anyone above 20 million, if they have a great performance, they go up 0.3. If they have good performance, 0.1. And likewise, poor performance, down 0.1. Terrible performance, down 0.3. So we know, again, I'm saying we know with an inverted commas because we don't actually know anything. This is just kind of what we think is going to happen. We know that these A tier assets, anyone over 20 million, is going to gain a maximum of 0.3 and lose a maximum of 0.3. So they're not great for building budget. However, they are kind of a bit more DNF proof. If they DNF, they have a terrible race, they only lose 0.3. Whereas a B tier asset, someone sub 20 million, for example, I don't know, Carlos Sainz, or we've got an example on here. Scroll down. So we've got Behrman. Behrman here has had a terrible race in Australia, loses 25 points. It's terrible, therefore he loses 0.6. But if someone else in the A tier, we've got an example of that. Yeah, Norris here, for example. It's not a perfect example, but Norris here in the second race in China has a poor race and he drops 0.1. So what I'm trying to say is that what we think is happening is the higher priced drivers are worse for potentially building budget, but better for if you catch a DNF and you have a bad race, because they're not going to drop as much. Whereas your lower priced drivers are going to drop more money, but they can also gain more money. So it's this kind of weird balance of trying to avoid DNFs, which are also minus 20 for some stupid reason, and we're trying to play this juggling game of trying to balance this out, but it's going to make gaining budget difficult, I think, because of this symmetry. So you might start off well and you get like this 0.6 rise, but then you catch a couple of random DNFs or someone has a bad race or whatever, and the average across those first two races is going to drop them back 0.6. So you do great in Australia, you go up 0.6 with your B tier asset, and then they have a stinker in China, and then that reduces them back down again. So again, it depends how badly they do, as whether they go end up with a poor average and only go back down 0.2, netting you a 0.4 gain, or if they have a terrible race and go down all the way down to 0.6. I don't know. It's kind of hard. I don't know exactly where the balance is, and we think that there may be some sort of sub tiers within the A and B tier. So the drivers, for example, Lawson and Antonelli, who are kind of higher price B tiers, might have a lower threshold to do terrible than the likes of Bortoletto or Behrman, for example, who are very low priced. They might have a higher threshold, for example, to do terrible. So it might be a bit more balanced in that regard. So it makes me think like the likes of if you want to go big constructor and go with someone like, for example, McLaren plus Mercedes or something, you might have to end up with a 2x driver on someone like Lawson. But then that means that Lawson's, although he's in the B tier and therefore potentially able to get 0.6, he's got a lower threshold for dropping 0.6. That's what we think is happening. This is what I think I've interpreted correctly from F1 Fantasy Tools Discord in the last hour. Again, this is a little bit up in the air. We don't know exactly. And I'm still trying to process how this is going to really impact our decision making on a race by race basis. But for what I can gather, my immediate thought is it's going to be a bit tricky potentially to gain budget, potentially through the season. Although as we start seeing this 3 race average play out after the first couple of races, and we've actually got a proper 3 race average. So let's say Let's see if I can find an example. Maybe Sonoda. So Sonoda's, I don't want to use Sonoda. I want someone who started off terrible and then kind of got better, but I don't think there's any examples of that. There doesn't appear to be any examples of that, what I'm looking for. Okay, but let me just say it maybe theoretically then. So imagine someone starts off really terribly. They lose 0.6 million. That means that going into China, the second race, we probably want to avoid whatever that asset is. Let's just say, for argument's sake, let's say Gasly. We say Gasly, he has a terrible race, he loses 0.6 million. That means that, I think, this is the way, if I'm interpreting it correctly, I think that means that we probably want to avoid someone like Gasly if he's had a terrible race and lost 0.6 million, because if we're doing a 3-race average, which we know is public knowledge, the developers have clearly stated it's based on this 3-race scoring, then if someone's had a terrible race in race week 1, then their average is going to be low regardless of their performance in race week 2. So if Gasly has a bad performance in race week 1, we probably don't want to pick him in race week 2. And if we've got Gasly in race week 1, he has a stinker, or anyone else who has a stinker, we probably want to transfer them out or before we end up losing another 0.6 or a 0.2 or whatever it is. Does that make sense? Hopefully that makes sense. Let me catch up with the chat, because I don't know exactly how well I've explained it, because I'm still trying to process it myself. Let me just have a quick look at the chat. Oh dear. Let me have a think. Yeah, F1 Fancy Tools Discord, people asking where you can find the document. If you just go to Discord, join the F1 Fancy Tools Discord server, go into the F1 Fancy chat, it should be in there. You can just search for it. You can search for the user JW if you really want, and find out all his posts, because it's been quite interesting reading through it all. Right, Keith says risk reward factor of selecting the B tiers. Yeah, that's kind of where I'm thinking. So if I hop over to here again and have a look at my team, let's just say we want to try and get the B tier driver in there. I want to try and maximize the B tiers. I'm just dismantling this team. So we could end up with a team that's kind of like Bortoletto. Yeah, Bortoletto, that's not what I meant to say, Antonelli though. And then we could have like the big constructor there, and then it'd be like a smaller, like a Williams or an Alpine or something. So this is like a budgetary possibility. Okay, this is something I've thought about based literally just in the last like hour after reading this whole Discord thing. I don't know how, again, this is just first thoughts, don't shoot me down, but this is just first thoughts on how potentially to gain budget. This is high risk though, if what we've just learned from the pricing algorithm is correct, because you get like a big chunk of points most likely from McLaren. If they DNF, then you don't really lose that much in terms of value, but you're probably going to scoop up tons of points, pit stop points, race win, fastest lap, who knows, all that good stuff for the McLaren. That's great. And then you're kind of relying on the backbone of Antonelli, Lawson, who are these B tier assets. Excuse me. Excuse me. So if the way we've interpreted the price changes is correct, that means that Lawson and Antonelli are a bit high risk, because they might have this low threshold for reducing in budget if they do poorly. But at the same time, they're in a Mercedes and they're in a Red Bull, so they've got a high capability of actually doing well in the race, and therefore, and they're still B tier because they're sub 20 million. So therefore, they could get us a decent amount of points, as well as that 0.6 rise in comparison to someone like a Piastri or a Russell, which is quite popular in a lot of teams. This is just purely early thoughts as to what I can try and do with balancing points and budgets. Again, I know, hold my hands up, I know the point scoring system is still leaning heavily towards the constructors, and therefore this is a risk to drop a big constructor going for an Alpine or something. Alpine or Williams are the most likely, I would say. And again, this does free up 4.1 million as well, so you could, change someone you're not happy with. Maybe you don't want Ocon or something. You can't quite get to Gasly, but you probably don't want Gasly anyway, because whatever, maybe you want Alonso or something. Anyway, but my point is the structure of McLaren, small constructor, and then Lawson Antonelli. Lawson Antonelli are kind of the key ingredients in this scheme, because like I say, they're quite risky, because they're technically rookies, or Lawson technically a rookie, even though he's had a few races before, and Antonelli is completely new to this F1 business. I know he's done well in other categories and blah blah blah, but I still think he's risky, and we don't know the exact performance of the Red Bull and Mercedes. They both have big question marks over them, especially the first race of the season in Australia, bumpy track, curbs, that riding the curbs and around the track in Australia, probably not Red Bull's favorite place, so maybe it's a bit clenching your butt cheeks a little bit. But Mercedes in the cooler rainy conditions that are forecast for Sunday could also be good, so maybe Antonelli's fine. It's really tough. These are just some first kind of preliminary thoughts. I'm not saying like, oh, we should do this and you should all put this team in and you'll get loads of budget, loads of points. I'm just saying this is like a potential idea. I'm trying to think outside the box, and if it doesn't work or if it gets shot down, and then fine. But we need to try and think out of the box. You can't just put Ferrari, Mercedes, Piastri in there and some budget drivers and just think, right, job done. Like, yes, that might be fine, and it looks like a good balance. I'm trying to think outside the box. Now we got a potential understanding of this pricing, and I'm wondering if something like this could work with the double B tier to get 0.6 from Antonelli, 0.6 from Lawson. Again, you'd have to 2 times one of them. Depends on who looks best in the practice, I guess. You're scooping up all the big points from Piastri and Norris. Alpine, you're just kind of praying that they have good races. I don't know. It's high risk. But this is just my first thought based on what I've read in the last hour or so of the pricing changes, that maybe something like this could actually be feasible if we're looking to try and gain price. But of course, this could massively backfire. It could backfire horribly if Alpine are kind of wishy-washy or rubbish and they don't really score anything. It could backfire horribly if Lawson and Antonelli, again, they DNF or whatever, and they end up dropping 0.6. Meanwhile, other people have sat there, Piastri 2 times, who gets driver of the day, wins the race, and the super speedy McLaren. I don't know. It's all about balance and stuff at the moment, and I will think about this more heavily over the next 24 hours before I do my actual team selection video Wednesday evening. So make sure you're subscribed for that if you're not already. Just quick plug there. But yeah, this is just kind of my first thoughts now. I don't know what do you guys think? Let's I think people are overall kind of happy with that. So let's start another quick poll. Thoughts on the Antonelli / Lawson budget team, and we'll put good idea. I don't know, something along these lines, to see if anyone can help me to understand this whilst I read through the chat here. Is this estimated performance? So yeah, let's hop back to, because we've got some questions I think about the whole free race average thing and this spreadsheet that I've got up. Let's have a read. So, is this estimated performance or just examples? Is this estimated performance based on? Are you talking about the spreadsheet? Sorry, because I'm catching up with these questions like 5-10 minutes after you've asked them. I really do apologise, but once I start talking, it's hard to stop me. So. Mark just popped up there. Don't think there's a point overthinking before free practice and sims. Yeah. I mean, I don't think there's any risk of overthinking. I think there's the fact that we've only got like 2 or 3 days until practice and then deadline. It means we don't really have time to overthink. But it's good to try and broaden our thinking as much as we can to try and try and get the best team that we can for the deadline. So I don't think there's any harm in discussing what we're discussing. But yeah. What have we got? Hey man, hope you and everyone's okay. Been catching up with everyone's launch reaction and team. Has been some interesting up to. Oh, thank you very much, Delamain Sports. Thanks for tuning in. Are they going to change the price only every 3 races? No. So what they've released in the... Let me show you an example. I've got some pictures. So where is it? This one. Let's get the Bearman example up. Let's drag this onto screen. Maximize it. So hopefully everyone can see this. If I zoom in a little bit, can everyone see that all right? Hopefully everyone can see that. So yeah, what we got here is a screenshot of this whole like leaked testing that the developers did last night, and then they took it off the website. I don't know what's going on, but what we can see here is Bearman is at 4.9 million. This is after 3 races. You can see Australia, China, Japan. What the developers have done, they've done like a -25, -45 because it's a sprint. So I guess he's got lots of disqualification points because he's been marked as inactive. So he's had 3 shockers. Now Bearman starts at 6.7, I want to say. Let's just double check that. Yeah, so here's Bearman. Behrman, this is the actual game. Here he is at 6.7. And then we go back to Behrman over here. So he was at 6.7 and he's now at 4.9 after 3 races. And you can see here, after Japan, he has dropped 0.6. So if he's dropped from 6.7 to 4.9, that is a drop of 1.8. 1.8, and he's dropped 0.6 here in one race, which means he surely has dropped 0.6 here in China and 0.6 here in Australia. So remember, it's a three race average, but the first couple of races are impossible to do a 3 race average. So it'll just be based on Australia for after the first race, Australia and China when we go into Japan, and then it'll be an actual 3 race average. So yeah, it looks like drivers will be immediately gaining and losing 0.6 million, if that makes sense. Let me just give you another example going in the opposite direction. We've got Carlos Sainz over here. Again, doesn't have a picture for whatever reason, but this is going in the opposite direction. Carlos Sainz starts off the season at 13.1. Where is he? Where is the Spaniard? Here he is. 13.1 million. There he is, 13.1 million. That's the actual game card there. We move back over to look at him in the leaked stuff from the developers that they randomly put out. You can see again, after 3 races, he had 3 excellent races. He has gone up 0.6 from the last race. Therefore, 13.1 to get to 14.9. That's an increase on budget of 1.8 million. So 1.8 obviously divided by 0.6 is the 3 races there. So he's basically gone up 0.6 each race. And he's had a phenomenal race in Australia. That's the equivalent of Carlos Sainz winning in Australia, basically, and getting like fastest lap or driver of the day or something. So the fact that he is got that and only goes up 0.6 just shows how difficult it is to actually get that budget. We've got to get that budget over time. We need to try and jump on these guys that are doing well to keep getting these 0.6s. But then when we need to try and avoid these guys that start off badly, they lose 0.6, because if they continue badly, they just keep shedding money, basically. So it's going to be important to be jumping off and on these assets that are gaining and dropping in price. It's going to be a weird new dynamic that we're all going to have to get used to. But this looks like what's going to happen. Again, we don't know this is definitely going to happen. This is just some weird leaked kind of developer testing thing that happened last night in a short period of time. We got a few screen grabs of it, and that's kind of what we're running off, and that's why we've ended up with this massive spreadsheet of information, which is just phenomenal. I absolutely love it. I absolutely love this community. It's just so good. It's so quick at getting on stuff and just sharing ideas, and I love it. It's fantastic. So yeah, the developers are probably, I kind of hope the developers like see this and they're just like, God damn it, we just can't get around these guys. They're too good. The community's too good. It's great. But yeah, that's kind of to answer your question. Basically, yeah, the price changes. Again, you can see it in the spreadsheet here. Take Sainz as an example that we've just looked at here. The price change after the first race, after a great race, is 0.6. His average after the second race is still great, so he goes up 0.6. He has another great race, so his average over the 3 races is great. He goes up another 0.6. So he gains 1.8 million in 3 races. So the price gains are slower. We're not going to see those million jumps and 1.5 million jumps from the C tier assets that we have seen in the past. It's going to be slower, but we're going to be able to get a bit more of a read on it if this is all accurate. So we're going to have to, like I say, be very aware of who is looking good, who's going to get those price gains early on, who's had a bad race, who's liable to lose value, and probably looking to kind of jump off them. So further down the season, we can hopefully get some better assets into our team. Maybe jump up from like, maybe if you're starting the season with like a McLaren Mercedes build, maybe you can move those Mercedes up to like a Ferrari build. If the Ferraris are like the P2 constructor or whatever, or even P1, then you don't really want to hang around with Mercedes. Then getting that extra budget is what's going to push you into that group of fantasy managers, and that's what's going to set you apart in terms of the points coming into the season. We saw how massively powerful a big budget was last season. The guy that won it, Leapfrogs, I think his name is. Not his actual name, obviously, but his sort of internet name. He won it with a huge budget. He was affording like 3 premium drivers plus the 2 big constructors. Like huge budget, kind of ended up winning the race, and that the early gains were important for that. And I think it's going to be more difficult to get such a huge budget this season, but we can still be wary of these potential price changes to help us grow as much as we can to try and get to those sort of team builds. So yeah, that's a very long-winded answer for answering what you've just said. So let's go back and have a look through here. My thought is, why are the developers trying to make this as opaque as possible? Shouldn't we be aware of the points and prices without having to geniuses at tools Discord to figure it out? Yeah, I don't know. I do wonder if they don't want to overshare for the more casual manager. They're obviously trying to reach out as many people as they possibly can. They want as many casual managers, but like, people that are interested in F1. There's millions and millions of people interested in F1, but there's only like a few 100,000 that are actually like, or even tens of thousands that are actually dedicated to this game. So that I don't think they care too much about us. It's more about reaching the wider audience and having that opaqueness, so it doesn't like confound those people. I'm not saying they're stupid or anything. They're not stupid, but they're obviously not interested as we are at looking at spreadsheets late in the night and staying up all night working out algorithms. That we are a niche. We have to remember we are a niche, and F1 aren't really that bothered by us, I don't think. Although maybe that's an argument for another day, perhaps, that they should be. But I think if F1's views, again, this is just my opinion, I think F1 are more interested in the widest audience possible. The bigger the audience, the more money they get, basically, from advertising, etc. Ticket prices, people get hooked from fantasy games. They end up going to the race, and F1 get money. Hooray! So F1, I think, look at the wider audience, and if they start putting stuff out about price change algorithms and stuff, then I don't know. That's probably going to blow a few people's minds, and they won't be interested. I don't know. It's just my initial thought to that, Michael. Let's see what else we got. It's interesting because there's less room for budget gain as opposed to last season, but Norris and 2 premium constructors is out of reach. So you need to think out of the box. Yeah, exactly. Let's hop back to the team selection. Actually, let's go back. So yeah, what do you think about this? Actually, let's quickly check. What was the too risky? Yeah, about two thirds of you in the poll are currently saying it's too risky to go for something like this. But would you be saying that if Lawson and Antonelli are looking good in the practice sessions, and Red Bull and Mercedes suddenly actually aren't that bad, I'm saying if things look like they're falling into place come Friday, would you still think it's too risky? I don't know. It probably is, but like I say, I'm just trying to think outside the box at the moment. Let's go back and have a look at what my actual team is at the moment. Like I say, this was a draft I came up with quite early on. This is kind of where I'm sat at the moment. Although with the threat of rain, let me just see, let's drag this on. Threat of rain. This is the latest for Melbourne. The race is at 3 o'clock, by the way, so you can see the time here: 2 o'clock, 5 o'clock. This is Sunday. 90% rain and 70% rain, like through the race. It's looking more and more likely to be very wet during the race. It's also looking quite cool, so I'm immediately thinking like maybe Mercedes might be a good shout here. So yeah, maybe a team like this is fine, but yeah, also having Antonelli in there, if Mercedes are looking good, then maybe also good. But we also don't know if Mercedes are actually going to be that good in the cool, wetter conditions. Like, they were decent last season, but are they going to be the same again? I'd say it's likely, but we don't actually know, so it's a bit subjective at the moment. Have the developers really done test cases on the public website? Yes, Luke. Yes, they have. They did it for, I don't know, like an hour or so last night. And some quick people managed to get some screen grabs, and that's how we've come across this massive spreadsheet, basically, and kind of trying to glean as much information as we can from it. Let's have a look what else in the chat. So price streaking, yeah, Delamain Sports price streaking. That's basically what we're looking at. We asked for streaks. We've got a streak in the different kind of way. We're looking at price streaks, basically. That's a good way of thinking about it. Price streaks. Look at who's on the up, jump on them and hope they continue to go up, and then the people that are going down, jump off them or avoid them, and you don't want to get your budget sucked down. So yeah, it's interesting. It's going to be a balance of trying to avoid, say I go with this team and say like Doohan and Ocon, I can't even say their names, Doohan and Ocon have bad races, they drop 0.6. Piastri does okay, but next race in China, like Charles Leclerc is phenomenal, and he's on pole for sprint qualifying in China. I really want to get Charles Leclerc in there. It then gives me an option like, do I want to get Charles Leclerc in there for like the points, but then sacrifice a transfer down here and lose another probable 0.6 million down here? It's like you're trying to do this kind of balancing act between gaining points and avoiding losing budget all of a sudden. And look, if I want to shift off Doohan and Ocon, who are about to lose me another 1.2 million combined, and I want to get on someone like, I don't know, Alonso and Behrman or whatever, I don't know, Alonso Hulkenberg, because they've both had good races to start with and therefore more likely to keep riders in price. Do I want to focus on that, or do I want to try and focus on maximising my 2 times or changing my constructors about because I made a mistake? Mercedes actually are terrible. I don't want them for China. I want to scrap them off. I want to get Red Bull in there. So yeah, it's going to be a really interesting, particularly the first few weeks, first few races are going to be really interesting trying to find that balance between points potential and budget potential. All right, see what else we got. Is there a scenario where you'd pick Norris? I did do a few drafts of Norris tonight. Let's see, I can't remember exactly off the top of my head what I had because I didn't look at it for very long because it was kind of hard to get anyone because you can't get these, like, you can't get the big constructors in no matter how hard you try. Like the biggest there at 22, yeah, you're like 4.1 million short of doing anything good there. Even if we get the very cheapest drivers in the game, 20 million. So we're still short by like a good couple of million with all the cheapest drivers to get. If you get Norris on top of 2 big constructors, then it's just like seems like a no-brainer, which is why a lot of people are not going Norris, but they're going Piastri. Because I perfectly agree, and this is why this is kind of my holding team at the moment, is that Piastri is probably underpriced. Everywhere you look, everyone is saying McLaren are the best team, okay? At least at the beginning of the season. So why is Piastri at 23 million and he's got Hamilton, Leclerc, Verstappen? Like Norris, fine, 29, that's fine. But why are these 3 guys like way more expensive than Piastri when Piastri is a very good driver in arguably the best car? Like, why is he 23 million? So that's why a lot of people are thinking about starting with him because he offers good value. He is still an A-tier asset, so potentially if the price algorithm that we think we got a grip on here is correct, he's not going to gain much value. But then again, like I say, the bonus of that is if he DNFs, then you don't lose much value either, I guess. But yeah, I think he's quite undervalued there. So the only way to get 2 big constructors and a big hitter is to go Piastri and then something like this. But you can't really... I think Norris is just too expensive because you end up having to go with one of these kind of cheap constructors, which I'm not a big fan of. Again, because there's just not many good ways for them to score points. I just think the top 4 are going to be hoovering up most of the points, so I want to build a team around this. Another build I was actually kind of looking at was like the George Russell build. Again, this has kind of shown a bit of popularity on social media and that because it lets you get to McLaren. Again, it actually gives you 1 million spare, so we can get up to another kind of budget driver of choice. So probably an Ocon, I would say. Kind of double hands seems popular. So this is another sort of popular thing. It leaves you 0.1 million in the bank. And again, I also quite like this. Again, Mercedes, if they're going to do well, if the conditions suit them on Sunday, maybe we can trust them. And this gets you the McLaren coverage. So I kind of like the team like this. And I do really like starting with the McLaren constructors because it looks so clear that they are the best team and they're going to get pit stop points. They're going to scoop up fastest lap stuff. They're going to get probably double podium by the looks of it. It just makes sense to have some McLaren coverage. Where that McLaren coverage comes from, I don't think it's Norris for me personally. I think Piastri is a great option, and I also think the McLaren, even at 30 million, it could very well be worth it. Because bear in mind, I'll go back to the pricing. All these top 4 constructors, they're all in the A tier, so they're all going to gain and lose price similarly. Of course, there could be again these kind of subcategories where the threshold is lower for McLaren to drop price, whereas the threshold is higher for Mercedes to drop price. So that is some potential to think about. So maybe even though they're both in the A tier, they're going to go up or down like 0.1 or 0.3. There is potentially a more chance of McLaren going down than there is Mercedes, if that makes sense. So, yeah, it's definitely interesting food for thought. But these are kind of like the holding patterns that I'm kind of hovering around at the moment is this kind of George Russell build or the Piastri build that you can see right here on the screen. Again, I'm not sure about Ferrari. Again, this whole rain forecast makes me nervous about Ferrari. If it wasn't for the rain, I think I'd be all aboard the Ferrari kind of train here. But there's rain, and Ferrari have not done well in the rain. Thinking back to last year, again, that might change, and maybe they look really good in the practice, and you just want to get them in there. But yeah, they've not done particularly well in the rain. They've not done particularly well in the cooler conditions. So maybe Red Bull Racing gets some Max Verstappen coverage, because we know Max Verstappen's an absolute beast when it comes to driving in the rain. So yeah, maybe a team like this with Piastri sat on top of it could also be an option. Then again, that gives you 1.9 million to fiddle about with your budget guys down here, but you past that it's hard to afford much more. So yeah, these are kind of the two builds that I'm looking at really: the Piastri and George Russell kind of combo, as well as the whole price go getting one with Antonelli and Lawson in. Those are kind of what I'm looking at the moment. I think more likely something like this, just because I like having a strong 2 times, but George Russell is also like a fine 2 times probably. But yeah, I need to have a lot more think about it. Like I say, I will be doing a team selection video Wednesday evening UK time. I will be recording Wednesday evening, so I'll be going out, I don't know, 10, 11 o'clock or something UK time on Wednesday, where I'll have collated more of my thoughts on this, had a look more at the pricing, just had a 24 hours basically more to think about this, have a sleep on it, and then have a proper think about it tomorrow. So yeah, we'll be doing team selection tomorrow, so please do subscribe and stay tuned for that. But that's my team selection kind of ideas at the moment. I will just have a look at the chat and ask if there's any more questions and things, because I'm looking in the corner of my eye, I can see there's quite a lot of stuff going on. So let me have a quick read, and then I'll see if I can answer any more questions. Actually, one thing that's just popped in my head, sorry chat, one more thing that's popped in my head is to bear in mind that China is a sprint weekend. So in terms of balancing points and budget, with China being a sprint weekend, first of all, do we want to prioritize points and kind of forget this whole pricing thing until we know for sure exactly what's going on? Because after the first pretty much race, maybe 2 races, we should be pretty set on whether what we've discussed with this whole spreadsheet thing here is actually true or not. So it could be worth just trying to jump on the points and forgetting about the whole budget thing for the first couple of races. Focus on getting the points, because the sprint weekends are really crucial for points, and I'd rather focus on points for sprints because there's more points on offer than budgetary gains. And then the second thing that comes with the fact that China is literally the sprint weekend immediately after the first race is mentioned here by Michael about Limitless in China. So Michael says, I have a feeling it may not be a good idea for Limitless in China this year for this average thing so early on. So yeah, the whole average thing is pricing aside. Limitless could still potentially be good whilst we're all scratching around trying to work out what's going on. Just go in Limitless if there's a clear kind of pecking order. If McLaren really are streaks ahead of everyone, why don't we jump on that before the other teams have got a chance? We can go triple McLaren and then decide who the second best constructor is based on Australia, triple them up, and then put the next best driver in, and then we could be looking at Limitless China on week 2 and just forget about whole price changes until we've had 2-3 races, and then can actually have a clear understanding on how the prices are affected. Let's just chuck out there. So yeah, let's go back to the chat. God, there's too much chat. What else is everyone saying? It pays off and you get those price gains. Yeah. So Jetto's kind of agreeing. I guess your Jetto's talking about the kind of wild card here. Let's just change it up and let's put that in there, just so people that weren't in the stream earlier can see what I was talking about. The whole price gain thing, trusting the likes of Antonelli and Lawson. It is high risk because you're dropping the constructor, but you do get what is fairly obviously the best constructor. You get to you get all of Piastri's and all of Norris's points by including them here. You then get 2 good drivers who are in the B tier who can go up 0.6 and should have a reasonable chance of going up 0.6, so you could get some really nice gains from them. And then you're just kind of really heavily leaning on Alpine not having a disaster, pretty much, hopefully picking up a few points, and these guys again get some overtakes and stuff. It does lean heavily on the backbone of Antonelli, Lawson actually doing well, and then McLaren, who we expect to just kind of blow people away for the first couple of weeks probably. But this is certainly something that's kind of interested me, and this is literally still just the first thought in my head as coming onto the stream. So this will develop, and maybe I'll just scrap this idea by tomorrow, I don't know, or maybe I'll like it more and more as I think about it, but we'll see. What else we got in here? Albino92. Sorry, I'm really late on these these chat messages because I've been chatting so much. Just tuned in. Looking forward to watching your videos through the season. Thank you. I'm looking forward to having you with me. Do you think your budget building will be important this year? Sorry if you're repeating yourself. Yeah, I have talked a lot about budget building. But do I think budget building, short answer to do I think budget building will be important? Yes. Yes, I think it will be important. And that's why we're spending these first couple of races working out exactly how we're going to approach that, which is why I've got this kind of budget building potential team on screen at the moment. So yes, I think it's important. If you chase points early on and not avoid budget losses and gains, you could be down to 97 million. Yeah. So Mr. Free points out that you need to focus on the budget gains as well. However, are we gonna? Yeah, I don't know. It's very hard to predict without the first race. We need Australia. If it is based on this free race average, we need Australia to give us an actual yardstick to measure who's likely to go up and down. At the moment, everyone's on a completely even keel. No one's got a 3 race average. As soon as we have Australia and that's in the bank, all the drivers and constructors have a 3 race average. I know it's only 1 race, but that is their 3 race average. So after Australia, we're going to know or get an idea of who we want to pick for that 3 race average. Who's going to start dropping? Who's going to keep rising? Who's got that potential either way, and we can work around it. Prior to Australia, we don't really know that information. We're just kind of guessing. But after Australia, then maybe we get a bit more of an idea. So maybe the approach in that sense then is having a very flexible team and as much balance as you can, and maybe that means something like this is good. Again, I'm not sure about Ferrari, and maybe I want Red Bull for Verstappen coverage in the rain in Australia. But yeah, maybe trying to be flexible, because this, having Piastri up here, having that money kind of banked, and 1.9 million here sat around as well. That means I can move from Piastri to someone else in this region. 1.9 in the bank means I could climb up to like a Lewis Hamilton, for example, here, providing the budget changes don't do anything too drastic, because maybe Lewis Hamilton looks really good in China, for example. So this is quite a nice flexible approach. Yes, that's the end of that train of thought. What else have we got now? So many questions. Let me see. Surely Hamilton in the rain, even for Ferraris go. Yeah, the thing is with Hamilton, I've been looking at like people's track record around Melbourne. Hamilton has like the most poles around here. I think it's, I can't remember the top of my head. Was it 8? Is it 8 poles? But only 2 victories. Like, what is Hamilton doing there? What is Hamilton doing? Just 2 victories in Melbourne. Interesting. So I'm not sure if Hamilton gives me the heebie-jeebies around here. If you use limiters, do you get the budget they go up by, or the total, or your total, or not? What? Ben Chapman, if you use limitless, do you get the budget they go? Oh, no. So if you use limitless, you get the budget increases for your underlying team, basically. So you wouldn't get the budget increases for triple McLaren, triple Ferrari, and Verstappen or something, whatever you pick. You just get, whatever team you had the week before, basically. So whatever your team is before limitless. And I think limitless only unlocks after race week 1, so I don't think you can even go limitless on race week 1 from what I remember. But yeah. What else we got here? Once you start creating a team, can you change it before the first race? Yes, you can, as much as you want, which is why I've been fiddling around with mine. This is only week 1, and then limitless could hope you gain 0.6 in the background. It could actually be the play. Yeah, so this is, Jetto, this is a similar sort of discussion we had to, excuse me, to last season, the China sprint. Budgetary gains going into the China sprint were a big talking point last season. It's a similar thing here. The only difference is China is much earlier on, and the other difference is we don't know for sure about the whole price changes, so it makes it a bit trickier to work out. But again, that's why I need a bit more processing time to hopefully get that answer a bit more clearly for the team selection video tomorrow. What else we got? Could you switch Ocon and Lawson for Hajar and Bortolotto? What? I don't know. I need to read through this carefully. Right. Cultural Raptor. You could switch Ocon and Lawson. Lawson. Ocon. I don't have Lawson in the team. Was this from the previous? Is this from the previous iteration? Let me go back to that. Maybe I'm trying to work out what you're asking me here. Lawson, Constructors, McLaren, Alpine. So I think this is the team I had. So is this what you're talking about? So you could switch Ocon and Lawson out. Ocon and Lawson for Hadjar and Bortoletto. What? Bortoletto's even already in the team. I'm a bit confused, sorry. I'm confused what you're asking me here. Piastri and Antonelli. So let's get Piastri in there. 6.4. Oh, I see what you mean. And then like a Hulkenberg or a Hadjar in here. Is that what you're saying? Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah. This is, again, the game's not even been out for 12 hours yet, and I haven't come across this team selection. I actually like this. I'm very confused, but first glance is like, actually, yeah, it looks kind of all right. Again, the weakness here, the obvious weakness here is Alpine. We're just not going to score big points of Alpine unless they just somehow scoop up a podium or something like they did in Brazil, but I just don't see it happening. I don't see Doohan scoring many points. Gasly's got some potential to score a reasonable amount of points, and you could get some budget gains of Alpine there. I guess you've got the Alpine budget gains if they do well, and Nelly potential budget gains, and then you're just like effectively kind of tripling up on Piastri plus some Nat Norris points. I actually don't hate this at all. I like this suggestion as an option. Is this kind of what you mean? Yeah, I like it. This is another reason why I like doing these streams, because it's just sharing ideas again. I haven't thought about this team selection before, but I actually don't hate it. I'll just say that I don't hate it. Okay, yeah, I don't know what else. Let's see. Let's end this other poll. Let's do one more poll. I think I'll probably wrap it up in a bit. But let's. I don't want to start a Q&A. Flipping heck, we're basically doing that anyway. Start a poll. So, McLaren Alpine team. Let's see what people think about this suggestion from Cultural Raptor. I like it. I have to say I like it. I like having the double driver in there. But then at the same time, this is, I guess, leaning heavily on the fact that we're hoping to gain budget from the Alpine and Antonelli. Like, if we're getting Antonelli, can we squeeze it? I don't know. No, that's the trouble. We actually can't squeeze anyone else in, can we? We actually literally can't afford it. So this is why this team potentially works. So we're at 5.7. So we're $1 million short, basically. We're $1 million short of getting to this. However, the fact that we're $1 million short just goes to show how crucial getting those budget gains straight away might be, because whoever gets like a couple of drivers go up 0.6, they can then make that jump potentially. If you start with some cheap budget drivers down here already, with someone like if you start with like Hulkenberg, Hadjar, Bortoletto, Behrman, where does that get us? If we start with this and go to, say, for example, Russell, then you could potentially $1 million in the bank. So yeah, we're $1 million short of just getting Piastri in here. And I think if everyone could afford Piastri in this team right now before the season starts, I think this would just be the obvious team. Everyone would be doing it. So the fact we can't afford it is good. But the fact that it's almost affordable is very interesting. It makes me think, price gaining in week 1 is going to be very important. Can any of these guys boost me up enough? So say I basically would need a couple of these B tiers to go up enough to transfer. I need to make that jump really. So I'd need like a Behrman to go up 0.6 and Doohan to like not go up 0.6. So I could, Behrman would leap me up the budget. I can then transfer him. Oh, I can't transfer him down to anyone. That's the thing. It's going to, I don't know. I need to think about this some more. But yeah, I like the fact that it's almost affordable and makes me suddenly think, actually, yeah, budget gains are potentially quite critical if we can jump to this build. Like I said, I can't quite afford it at the moment. But imagine if we could afford this Piastri 2 times on top of McLaren with another big constructor. Like, that is gold dust. That's kind of what we had at the beginning of last season, like potential there. We literally none of us can possibly afford it at the moment, but we're very close to it. So yeah, make me think budget gains early, very interesting, and having this kind of balanced approach, and maybe even starting just taking the gamble and hoping that we can actually, I need to work out if this is mathematically possible with the fact that we've got these kind of cheaper drivers, and whether we can make this jump, or maybe it's even worth, starting with someone a bit more dearer, like a Behrman in here. That gives me all the budget to get this. So then if Behrman goes up 0.6 and Hadjar doesn't go up, then that basically saves me 0.6 from going Behrman to Hadjar. But then where do I get the other 0.6? Russell would have to go up by 0.3 0.3, and then I'd be 0.1 short unless Piastri had a stinker and went down. So there is mathematically possible to potentially jump from this build to getting Piastri in here for race week 2. I think, because then I could drop Duan. I don't know. I think there's the potential. I need to do a bit more fiddling around, and I'm not going to do it on stream right now because I'm getting tired and I need to have a rest my voice very soon. But yeah, I think that the fact that that's got high potential there as a possibility is very, very interesting. The other alternative, of course, I guess, is just not having McLaren and going back to this kind of balanced build here with Piastri sat here and doing the same sort of thing, but hoping we can make the climb from Red Bull up to McLaren. Or maybe we even do go with, keep Mercedes because they're that enabler from the big constructors. Go with someone small. I know this looks awful at the moment because you've got these, it looks terrible, right? It looks terrible. Bear with me. But if Alpine are quite capable of getting that 0.6 rise that we think is going to happen, and you get another 0.6 rise from one of these other random guys, then we could potentially make that jump. Again, I wouldn't pick someone else in here instead of like Hajar. Probably have like a Antonelli or something like that. And then we could use our 2 transfers. If we can make that jump with Alpine having a much better chance of increasing in price than a McLaren, then we could make the jump of going, for example, Alpine and Antonelli out after Australia. We then bring in McLaren, who wouldn't have gone up that much, and can hopefully afford someone like a Hajar. That's also a good shout. Again, it looks awful because we're starting the season with an absolute joke of a constructor, basically Alpine and Mercedes. But again, it's high risk. But it looks good, doesn't it? If we can if by race week 2. We have got, for the sprint weekend, not even needing to use Limitless, and we've got this build of Piastri on top of McLaren when McLaren are clearly the best team. I like it. It's got potential. What's everyone thinking in this? McLaren, Alpine team for points budget gain. Okay, it's kind of quite evenly split. People kind of like the Alpine build. What about this? Okay, let's go one more extreme then. What do people think about what I've just discussed? If I end this poll. Just trying to get some more thoughts collated here. The Alpine Mercedes build. I can't spell. There we go. For budget. So I'm just going to throw this out here to people that are still in here. What do you think about this? Again, I know it looks ugly. It looks horrible because the constructors are weak, and I know all the big points is kind of getting around the constructors. But again, you could throw Lawson in here instead of Antonelli, for example. I'm just chucking things around. But you're starting the season with a ton of money in the bank, but you're trying to make that jump to get McLaren in here. So you drop Antonelli, you get McLaren in, and then you can hopefully afford a Hajar. That's kind of like. That's kind of the dream. And then you're going into China. Everyone else would be kind of probably sat on, like in Mercedes plus Red Bull or Mercedes plus Ferrari. And then you've taken a bit of a hit in race week 1, but then you're sat there for the sprint with Piastri McLaren. What do you think? Initial thoughts are no. 74% no. Okay. Try with Ferrari instead of McLaren. Well, yeah, you can just get that straight away, can't you? But then Ferrari aren't going to get the big enough gain to make that jump. Where are the drivers? Let's put like a doing in here. We're only a million short, aren't we? So what do you mean by putting the Ferraris in there, though? I mean, yeah. So basically, other people would be sat on a team like this, but how much of an upgrade and how much is it worth risking your Australia race week by putting an Alpine in here instead of a Ferrari? Basically, that's kind of what we're doing. Obviously, we'd upgrade a doing to like an Antonelli or a Lawson, most likely. But we're basically sacrificing someone like a Ferrari for an Alpine for 1 week to hopefully get that gain up to McLaren. I don't know. It's still again worth some thought. I know 78% of you are saying no at the moment, but it's worth some thought. Why not Williams instead of Alpine? Yeah, potentially, but I'm just not. I don't know. I feel like there's quite a big price difference there. I quite like the Alpine fact that they're much cheaper, and if there is sub kind of subcategories within the B tier, and Alpine have a lower threshold for gain in price, then it just makes it more likely potentially that Alpine will gain price over Williams. Plus, I'm still, I think Williams and Alpine look very evenly matched at the moment. I mean, I know arguably Williams have a stronger driver lineup, but then they've still got Albon, Mr. DNF himself from last season. I'm not convinced that Williams actually offer that great a value for money, and I think Alpine are potentially as good or even maybe ahead of Williams. I don't know. It's kind of a tough call. Yeah, some people are preferring the Williams in there, but I'm not sure. I'll put it in there for now just to see what it looks like. But yeah, does that enable you? Yeah, you can still get like an Antonelli. Again, you could put like a George Russell in there instead, but I think in terms of potential budget gain, someone like Antonelli is worth it. If you're going as low down as Williams, you're clearly kind of all in on the budgetary potential, so you might as well just also go in with Antonelli over Russell, even though you could afford Russell. You might as well just go all in with budget. I don't know if that's the right thing, to be honest. And as a fantasy manager myself, I'm normally much more taking the balanced approach, less risky. However, it is appealing to just try something different, and if it backfires, then so be it. We'll work it out. But yeah, it's kind of interesting. It'd be quite fun, and I'll be sitting quite smugly if I'm sat there with the Piastri McLaren build come race 2. Right, I'm going to take a few more questions, last few bits in the chat, and I think I'll wrap it up. Because I think I've kind of covered everything I wanted to cover. So yeah, let's have a look. Yeah, Cultural Raptor kind of echoing what I'm saying there. Most of Albon's DNF wasn't his fault. Yeah. I guess you could argue that mostly. Yeah, but again, I guess it's the nature of starting where he does on the grid. It's higher risk of that happening. But then I guess you could argue that's the same for the Alpines. So yeah, I don't know. Swap Antonelli for Sainz, then get McLaren in. Swap Antonelli for Sainz. Yeah, again, I'm not sold on the Williams assets, but what can you get McLaren? Well, you can't get McLaren in. What are you talking about? I'm not sure what you mean, because I've got Piastri here. There's no way of getting McLaren, unless you mean with Williams. Is that what you mean? Maybe. Again, just not sure about it. Not sure about it. I'm not sure about any of this stuff. Like I say, these are all purely first thoughts. The game only got released today, so these are still just me speculating about stuff. But yeah. Williams is a very different team this year. Yeah, Williams do look good. I admit Williams do look good, but does good in real life translate to good in fantasy? Not always. So if they're going to finish in, P8, 9, 10, 11, 12, it's not necessarily that great if they qualify in that region as well. So I'm not sold on the Williams so much. We'll see. But I think yeah, it's probably enough time to kind of wrap it up now. I think I've discussed everything, gone through all the rules. We've had a look at the spreadsheet. Like I say, anyone that's interested in having a look at this spreadsheet, it's available on the F1 Fantasy Tools website. Oh, well, speaking of F1 Fantasy Tools, actually, before I do actually depart, if I can find it, shall we have a quick look at the F1 Fantasy Tools, because it's quite interesting. Let's bring it up here. This is the new team calculator from F1 Fantasy Tools. You can see here, funnily enough, this kind of almost template build straight off the bat is the favoured build. You got the Ferraris, Mercedes, or Piastri 2 times, and then the Ocon, Behrman, Bortoletto, and Doohan. This is literally my placeholding team at the moment. It's kind of funny that creating this team like 5 minutes after the game released is currently set on F1 Fantasy Tools as the highest expected points and budget gain like across the entire game. It's quite funny. I don't know what that says about the game itself as to how much variation we're going to see. I think we're going to see a lot of teams looking like this, but it's kind of interesting to see that F1 Fantasy Tools have got this on there. Yeah, it's interesting. I don't know if there's much else we can see on here at the moment. Probably not at the moment, live scoring, team analyzing stuff. We can't really see much at the moment. But yeah, it's just kind of interesting. We can scroll down, have a little scroll down, see what other teams will crop up. Here we got a McLaren Norris build using the Williams constructor as an option there. It's kind of interesting, similar to what we've just discussed with Piastri on there, but going Norris instead. Interesting. I do like Piastri though. I just think he's super underpriced at 23 million. With Norris at 29 and Piastri at 23, I don't think there's 6 million worth there, particularly as Piastri is at his home race. The potential for driver of the day looks pretty nice. So yeah, maybe maybe this build of Piastri there is up here on the simulations at the moment for a reason. Further down here, we've got a few more Williams builds in the mix here. Mercedes making another appearance alongside Red Bull. Again, Piastri looking favourite here. Let's load a few more teams to see if there's any more variations. Not really. Again, there's a lot of 2 times on one of the McLarens and then kind of bulking out the big constructors. Williams is kind of there or thereabouts, but look at the potential, the expected points for Williams. It's 20.3 in McLaren, 71.4, Mercedes 43, Red Bull 56, Ferrari 63. Like, Williams are only getting, like, at best, like half the next best constructor, Mercedes. They're getting a third or less than a third of Ferrari and even less than that of McLaren. So yeah, that just goes to show how favoured the constructors are here. So I wouldn't be surprised to see a large chunk of teams going for this kind of baseline of Ferrari or Red Bull partnered with Mercedes and going Piastri. I think that's going to be a big chunk of the template for the first race. And yeah, I mean, we're down to 30 teams. We'll have a look at one more set of teams, see if there's any more variation. Oh, Alpine finally making an appearance down here again, doubling up on McLaren assets. Kind of interesting. Yeah, let's have a look. Anything else on here? No. Williams will be overhyped. Yeah, probably Williams overhyped is probably going to be like Racing Bulls and Aston Martin of last year. Like, they didn't really cut it for the first couple of races, and people sat with likes of Williams are just going to be looking to switch to a team that looks more like this at the beginning of the season. So yeah. And that's kind of my thoughts for now. Wow, I've been streaming for like almost an hour and a half. This is like probably getting on for a record for me. But yeah, I've really enjoyed it. Really enjoyed the chat. If you haven't already, yeah, please do give the video a like and subscribe if you haven't already subscribed. Thank you very much, everyone, for joining me here this evening. I've really, really enjoyed it. I will be doing team selection video, like I say, Wednesday evening. I've had a bit more time to think things through, and we'll have a look at everything all over again, basically, but hopefully a bit more concise, and we'll have a look at the actual, the track and features of the track and that sort of thing, and look at some data points and that. We'll hopefully have some fun in the team selection video tomorrow, so I hope you'll tune in again for that. So yeah, I just want to say thank you for everyone that's participated so eagerly in the chat. It's been really nice interacting with you. Hopefully I've given you some ideas. You've definitely given me some ideas, and just bouncing ideas off each other is great. Talking through the whole pricing algorithm thing was really interesting for me as well. It's something like I said, I only read in the build-up, an hour build-up to going live. I was like scouring through the fancy F1 Fancy Tools thing. So great credit to everyone on the F1 Fancy Tools Discord for that. Thank you very much. And yeah, so yeah, this has just been, it's been really useful, and I hope it's been useful for me. Hopefully it's been useful for you, and I'll catch you for team selection video tomorrow. So yeah, thanks very much, and I'll say cheerio. Bye for now. Have a great day. Have a great night wherever you are. And I'll see you hopefully for team selection. Bye then.